Professional skepticism. Professional skepticism is a critical component of an auditor's duty of care that applies throughout any engagement. It's an attitude that includes a questioning mind and a critical assessment of the appropriateness and sufficiency of audit evidence. So basically, it's an attitude that includes a questioning mind and critical assessment of the audit evidence. In exercising professional skepticism, auditors should not be satisfied with less than persuasive evidence because of a belief that management is honest. Importance of professional skepticism for having an essential attitude that enhances the auditor's ability to identify and respond to conditions that may indicate a possible misstatement. It includes a critical assessment of audit evidence. This critical assessment is necessary in order for the auditor to draw an appropriate conclusion. While performing a risk assessment procedure, an auditor should be skeptical when performing risk assessment procedures at the planning stage of audit. Application of good judgment process is an important way to improve a professional skepticism in individual auditors is to accelerate their ability to exercise sound judgment by following a good judgment process and learning to avoid a judgment traps and biases. A due care has to be there. A professional attitude by auditor for getting evidences and carrying out functioning the audit successfully. It's basically the questioning mind which the auditor has to maintain while auditing the financial statements for assessing the evidences that are available and to draw a conclusion, an opinion, and for audit report. It is throughout the audit. So it facilitates the appropriate exercise of professional judgment, particularly regarding the decisions about drawing a conclusion about an audit evidences which the auditor gathers in the due course of audit. Auditors attribute. The essential qualities of a good auditors are as follows: appropriate range and depth of knowledge of best quality practices, regulations, compliance requirements, standards, and relevant technology. The auditor will need to have an appropriate range and depth of experience, good powers of observations, an inquiring yet open mind, able to think on foot, able to make a sound judgment on the matters observed, able to persistent yet patient and diplomatic in pursuit of the objectives of the audit, able to listen, discuss with those charged with corporate governance, management, and other senior members. Evidences which they gather, assess them, observe the audit procedures being followed at the client. Should have a questioning mind and should be alert to the risky situations. They should have a proper training and development with the necessary appropriate experience, skills, and professional competence qualifications. Moving to the fraud and auditor's responsibilities over the fraud. Corporate fraud refers to the illegal activities undertaken by the individual or the company that are done in a dishonest or unethical manner. Often, this kind of business fraud is designed to give an advantage to the perpetrating individual or the company. Corporate fraud consists of activities undertaken by an individual or company that are done in the dishonest or illegal manner and are designed to give an advantage to the perpetrating individual or the company. Corporate fraud schemes goes beyond the scope of employees' stated position. To avoid fraud, there are regulatory regulations such as Contract Acts, Penal Code, Prevention of Corruption Act, Prevention of Money Laundering, Companies Act, Information Technologies Act, Prohibition of Insider Trading. There are different types of fraud such as theft of cash, physical assets or confidential information misuse, misuse of accounts, procurement of fraud, payroll fraud, financial accounting misstatements, inappropriate journal vouchers, suspense accounting fraud, fraudulent expense claims, false employment credentials, bribery and corruption. Well, managing this fraud, or it may be said as managing massaging the figures, window dressing, creative accounting, or manipulating the financial statements to show better performance. Management commits fraud because of several interests, such as self-interest in bearing the result, because if they show the good financial position, their bonuses, salaries are dependent based on the proportion of the profits earned. Also, it might be because of incentives, opportunities, achieving targets, cash manipulation, the actual results in the active targets. Normally, the last quarter, which is the fourth quarter of the financial year, is very risky. Incentives. Listed companies, if the company is listed, the management has an outside pressure to show a better results or to boost market value of shares. Sometimes it may happen that a bank loan is required for the company. So again, if the banks requires the financial positions based on which they will determine whether the loan shall be given, then it also creates an opportunity for committing a fraud, for getting such loans, negotiating the loans. Auditors should be skeptical and analyzing the financial statements. There are reasons that the auditor performs risk assessment at the planning stage to perform risk areas within the financial statements. There are several areas on which the frauds can be committed. Well, the risky areas in the financial statements are overstatement of assets, which includes intangible assets, tangible assets, current assets, understatement of liabilities, which are current liabilities, non-current liabilities, overstatement of income, such as sales, exchange gains, foreign exchange gains and losses, other incomes, expense understatement, showing the less expense so that the profit figures is increased, showing less depreciation expenses, bad debts not showing, true and fair. There are also subjective areas in the financial statements. Estimates of the management. Management estimates are risky. They are risk prone. There are inherent risks in this estimates because it's a management determined, such as fair value, depreciation, going concern, provisions, amount. Well, disclosures are inherent risky. Sometimes it may happen that the management do not disclose or they disclose incompletely, such as contingent liabilities are not disclosed at the foot of the financial statements. Non-adjusting events which occurs after the balance sheet date, which are required to be disclosed, are not properly being disclosed. Related party transaction being material should be disclosed in the notes to the financial statements. Operating segments. Well, this is an assignment where the company is facing difficult trading conditions due to the economic factors. The consumer spending is depressed. Sales of 2000x9 is X figure and 2000x0 is X figure. So from here we see that first the difference between the figures corresponding to the years 2000x0 and 2000x9 is X percentage. So how it can be identified as a risk is as below. Well, it is observed that the sales has been showing an upper or deeper trend by X percentage. However, it may happen that these sales figures might be shown more or less, and thus it can affect the reliance on the financial statements sales figure. Now these sales are X percentage and it is being given in the condition that there are difficult trading conditions because of economic factors and the consumer spending has depressed. So it might happen that in order to show a good position, the debtors are overstated. That is, the bad debts are not recognized in your statement of financial profit and loss or shown at a lower figure, and that's why it affects the receivables figures in the statement of financial position. And because the consumer spending is depressed, it might happen that the inventory is slow moving or no moving, and the management may, in order to show a good better position of the inventory, may show that the inventory is being sold, that is, the goods are being sold to the customers, whereas in reality the consumer spending has depressed because of the economic factors,